I call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, with the roll call.
Richard King.
Present.
Councilmember Richard Norton.
Here.
Chris Cornell.
Here.
Chris McClish.
Here.
Tim Brown.
Here.
Move on, I'll entertain a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Brown makes a motion, do I have a second?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to second, but I'd also like to mention I need to excuse myself at 7. But I don't think there's any adjustments to the agenda that need to be made. I think I can stay here for the important stuff.
Mr. Squirrell seconds. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of adopting tonight's agenda signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion passes. I'll now entertain a motion to adopt tonight's consent agenda.
I'll make that motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Mr. Orford makes a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McClish. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting tonight's consent agenda signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Meeting open to the public. Did anybody sign up?
Yes, one person, Steve Belton.
Steve Bellman, 22766 Poppy Street Northwest. I just come forward to bring you up to date on what I'm doing on Poppy Street. And I sent an email, a cover sheet with the data from 1/6 to 1/12/16 and from 1/13 to 1/19/16 year. That was a northbound for 1 week and southbound for 1 week, combined off the traffic sign, that visual sign that we have. And I took that data and I sent it to our city administrator and the chief of police here and public works department. And I also sent it to Oak Grove, to their interim city administrator, Alice Larson, and to Tim Smith, their public works department over there. What it shows is, what I'm trying to do is get 2 stop signs on Poppy Street. I've been working with this, and you guys are aware of this, I'm sure. I know that I got the police chief on our side, and he's talked to the Anoka County Sheriff Commander over there who's on our side too about this. And the chief mentioned to me this might be a good test site because he's got other streets that have the same problem that we do. So Arrowwood, I think he said to me, is one of them. So that would be one plus to doing this. What I'm asking for is a stop sign on our side, west side of Poppy Street, facing south towards Lake George Boulevard, and then one on the north side, on Oak Grove side, facing north Bridge Street. So make it a 3-way stop. This 227th has 1 sign right now facing east. So that would make it a 3-way stop. That's all, it's not quite halfway between Lake George and Bridge Street, but it's close to it. Now I talked to Joe Coleman about it, like I said, and it's been sent to Jared from Bolton and Mink about it. His concern was it wouldn't do us any good unless we had 2 signs. That's correct. So I've been working with the Elk Grove. So I talked to Dallas Larson today, and he said if our city's behind it and our engineers behind it, that most likely their city would be behind it to go for it. Now, I've talked to neighbors in the area on both sides, Oak Grove and St. Francis, and they're for it too. So with the data that shows at that time frame, I said basically from 1/6 to 1/19 of this year, 4,700 some cars go down that 1 week period, 391 a day, with speeds up to 57 miles an hour. So I think that it's about time to do something here. I know last time I think Mayor, I read back in some minutes, I think it was back in 2008 when there was some signage that was put on there, a sign that says it's harsh, that says we love our children. This is back years ago that was done on that. So there's been just some minimal stuff that's been done to it. But I really think if I can get you guys on board with this, and again with the chief being pro to it and the commander of the Anoka County Sheriff's Office is pro to it now, I think, I don't see a reason that we couldn't. It's going to be a minimal expense to the city, 2 poles and 2 signs, and I think it'll make a big difference. And this is not something that's engraved for etched in stone that can't be taken down if it doesn't work out, but if it does, it saves a life, it's important. So I guess what I'm asking you now is which way to proceed. Should we put this on the agenda for next meeting, or how would you guys go proceed with this, get your approval?
Yeah, if you can review it, you can put it on future agenda.
Okay.
Do that?
Yeah, let's bring it up. It is my understanding that staff does that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For what I've been told anyway, yes.
Yeah. All right, can we put it on the next agenda?
Great, thank you.
All right, petitions, request applications, North End Securities.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I placed a bond sale result packet in front of you earlier tonight. I'll just hit the highlights. When I was here last on April 18th, the council approved a resolution calling for a bond sale for today. This bond sale is for sewer and water improvements related to the Bridge Street project, so it rounds out the financing for that project. As part of this financing, we worked with your city finance director and city administrator on the assignment of the city's bond rating. And the outcome of that is Standard & Poor's, the firm that has rated your bonds in recent years, reassigned the city's underlying AA bond rating, which is considered a very strong credit. And I'll maybe just hit a couple of highlights here, Mayor and Council, out of the rating report. They stressed certainly your proximity to the Twin Cities metropolitan area helps in relation to the economy. They cited strong management with good financial practices and very strong budgetary flexibility with good available fund balances. So these are some of the bullet points that they noted when they assigned the bond rating to the city. In addition to that, at the April 18th meeting, you approved a resolution to enter into the State of Minnesota Credit Enhancement Program. That allows you to come to the market one notch better than your underlying AA. That program is rated AA+. So we brought you bonds to market today. If you'll note in the packet on page 3 is the tabulation of the bids. There was one firm that bid on your bonds today, Robert W. Baird. Now, I say that with an asterisk because all of the firms that you see in a smaller font below there participated together in the financing. This is called a syndicate bid. So a lot of the names below that sometimes show up in a traditional bidding as separate bidders, but what they did is they grouped together today. But I'm very pleased to report that the bid that they provided is a very strong bid. It's right on top of that AA+ rated bond that would be in the market today. So Mayor and members of the council, certainly I would recommend the approval of that this evening. And I will note that there's a resolution in your packets and on your resolution for tonight, and Barb would have known this ahead of time, it notes a $1,955,000 bond issue. As you'll note on the bond sale report, we're able to downsize that issue. It's now $1,930,000. And so when the resolution is considered, it'll actually be at that lower dollar amount. The reason why the bond is downsized a bit is because of what's called bond premium. And that's a way that bonds are oftentimes bid in the current bond market where an investor will pay a premium to get a little bit higher interest rate. That difference between the yield on the bonds and the coupon is what you pay interest at, comes into the transaction as a source of revenue. So what we do is we take that premium and downsize the bonds. The end result is kind of a push to the city. You're borrowing less money now at a slightly higher interest rate. So, but Mayor and Council, the results are very strong, better than when I was here in April. So I can certainly address any questions. It's a 20-year financing. You have a call date, which is that date that you can prepay or refinance bonds. That's the date that we always keep an eye on if the markets adjust in the future to see if you can restructure or refinance your bonds for any savings. So the average interest rate that we award bids on, and of course just one bidder, but they provided a 2.73% average interest rate, which again, very strong. AA+ rated bonds. Any questions?
Council, any questions?
Do you know the difference between what we would pay in interest if we had not done the bidder had not paid the premium? As
Sure.
opposed to us paying less interest on more money.
Sure, that's a really good question, because, and actually, on the very back of this handout, it shows, the difference. You can see the coupon is the column, these are right in the middle of the page, coupon and yield. The yield is what the market is for municipal bonds. And based upon a AA plus rated bond issue, that would be the rates under the yield. The coupon, that's, like I indicated, that's the rate that you're gonna pay interest on your bond issue. So that differential between those two columns, it equals approximately $30,000 in this transaction. So that came in to downsize your bonds. It works out honestly as approximately a push, where by you borrowing $25,000, or I'm sorry, $30,000 less in bonds, it works out approximately the same. Where if you were paying a little bit lower interest rate at a higher bond amount compared to what you're doing here. So it didn't cost the savings, is what I'm saying. And when we go out and put the bonds out for bid, what we try to do is put a cap on how much a premium can be bid. But again, this is very, very common in the current municipal bond market for investors to bid. So I hope that answered your questions.
More or less, yeah.
Okay, anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. All right, do we have to change the wording on here before we vote on it? Because of the amount. All right, next is resolution number 2016-22, a resolution awarding the sale of general obligation water and sewer revenue bonds, series 2016A, in the original aggregate principal amount of $1,930,000, fixing their form and specifications, directing their execution and delivery, and providing for their payment. I'll now entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion we adopt this resolution.
Okay, Mr. Scorville makes the motion that we adopt. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Orban seconds. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, all those in favor of resolution number 2016-22 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, next item, Rum River Terrace, a public hearing on vacation of drainage and utility easements. We have
Mayor and Council, the public hearing before you this evening is relative to the Rum River Terrace development. If you recall, we heard that a couple of council meetings ago. And really the point of the vacation or the public hearing this evening is relative to a portion of the easements that were on the previous plat. But with the reconfiguration of the plat, those easements need to be vacated because the plat reconfigures on that part of that plat. So it's a essentially a formality, if you will, of getting easements that existed previously to match up with the ones that are on the plat now. So.
council, any questions? Hearing none, I'll open the public hearing. It's 6:14. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on the subject? Is there anyone here who would like to speak on this subject? Last time, is there anyone here who would like to speak on this subject? We'll close the public hearing, 6:50. Okay, moving on to ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance 219, second series, an ordinance amending the Rum River Terrace planned unit development for certain parcels. I will entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Mr. Portman makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Mr. Flesch. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, this will be a roll call vote. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Fesh?
Aye.
Mr. Scornall?
Aye.
Mr. Orban?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. Motion passes. Okay, moving on to resolution 2016-23. Resolution approving an easement vacation related to the Rum River Terrace PUD amendment in minor subdivision. Mr. Boyd?
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council. The resolution before you this evening is for the item of public hearings.
All right, at this time, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Mr. Brown, do I have a second?
Second. Second.
Mr. Orban, seconds. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none, all those in favor of resolution 2016-23 signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Reports of consultants and staff members, Mr. Wilkie, Pedersen Drive Improvements.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Closing your packet this evening is a memo regarding the Pedersen Drive improvement project. Based on discussions with the property owners in the area, one of the property owners has requested that a turn lane be installed into the eastern access of the Kings County Market City Center area. And the property owner has indicated a willingness to participate in the cost associated with that. The total estimated cost associated with that turn lane is approximately $7,500. So that is the item that's before you this evening. The other half of the construction cost is eligible for the city's municipal state aid funds with that, so there would be no impact to the general fund or the city's general fund budget. So that is the question this evening, and maybe just give you an update a little bit about the project schedule. The project they started doing some work up there today. Phase 1 is from 47 to that eastern access, and that schedule is anticipated to be June 6th or today through the 22nd. So they're hoping to get that all put back together with the curb and the bituminous paving and everything like that. The second phase is from that eastern access west to near Garani, and that schedule is the 22nd through the 13th of July. And then the third phase will be done under traffic, and that's simply a mill and overlay from Garani up to Ambassador. So that's kind of the update on the project schedule, and answer any questions that you may have.
Council? Yes, Mr. Orban.
Is there any, my concern with that, adding a turn lane there is that people are gonna be wanting to turn left out of County Market, and they're gonna see someone in the turn lane, they're not gonna be able to see cars coming behind them. Is there any like adjustment to where the stop line is for the people leaving County Market, either forward or back, so they can see?
Yeah, we could review that before the striping goes down. One of the things there is that we now will have that trail crossing as well, so we'll want to be cognizant of that. One of the biggest concerns that was brought up about the turning lane is the failure of motorists at this time to use their signals when they're turning in, so then it creates a backup for the people trying to exit. But certainly we'll definitely review that as part of that before the striping happens and make sure that it's adequate, keeping in mind the trail crossing.
Right, yeah, because right now, you have to wait because nobody uses their signal, so you have to wait till you see them physically turn. I'm just worried that we're gonna create a huge problem that's worse than what we currently have with just a little congestion. So if they could address those up and let us know, that would be great.
Thank you, Council. I would just like to, Mr. King.
Can I see someone?
Yes, please.
All right.
Please state your name and address for the record.
All right. Bob King at 23122 St. Francis Boulevard. I'm the owner of the County Market, and I put in a request. We've done this at, in the past with other sites too, and participated in the turn lane Now Jared from Bolton Meek, he came out there and studied it. And he didn't see any problem, at least he didn't arrive, that didn't surface his concern on that. But I think it'll alleviate a lot of problems in our areas. Very low spots, road rage, for people not signaling, and if anything, most of all, it'll take away all doubt if someone's gonna be turning. But what I've seen too, a number of times, you have semi trucks parked there, and they're running in for lunch, either at McDonald's or Man City. So, being a turn lane, there'll be no more of that. But, I just don't see the problem of visibility being blocked, and that apparently Jared didn't either at the time. So, spoke with Mr. Coleman about that too. Thank you.
I would just like to thank Mr. King for bringing this up, because speaking firsthand, I drive by there twice a day, at least. And that intersection scares the bejeebers out of me. A lot of times I'll go around just so I don't have to deal with it, because I see two big problems when you're coming from 47 and going west. You have people not using their signal, or you have somebody signaling, so somebody sees that, okay, they're going to turn, and they don't have the patience to wait to see what the second car is going to do. And I myself have almost been in several accidents and seen several near misses, because they make an assumption that this car is turning, you're going to turn, whether your signal is on or not. So I think this is a very good thing. Now, tonight we're looking to pass a motion authorizing staff to enter into an agreement with Kings County Market for the construction of a turn lane at the Eastern Kings County Market entrance, contingent on review and approval of the city attorney, and authorize the turn lane construction. At this time, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion to approve.
Mr. McClish makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Brown. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Hearing none. All those in favor of authorizing staff to enter into this agreement signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next, community economic development and business subsidy policy.
Mayor and Council, thank you. I am here tonight with 2 items before you. The first in your packet, there are 5 items that I will walk through to clarify their purpose and use that are directly related to that business subsidy request. As I've been reaching out to developers and contractors about city-owned property and opportunities, we need to organize our local policies. These policies in place would be there in the event of a sale or some type of city-owned property or request of another type of subsidy as defined by the state statute. The first piece before you in your packet is the business subsidy policy itself. The purpose of this policy is to comply with the identified state employment and economic development statutes. These statutes provide the definition of subsidy, the qualifications of an applicant, and the agreement and terms that are to be secured in the event of awarding a subsidy. This policy supports the state statute and sets in place the requirements and parameters of those intending to benefit. These requirements are consistent with our comprehensive plan and require a project to meet standard criteria. Within the policy, it also outlines the application process for interested parties and the compliance requirements for the city to reply to reporting and such to the state. The next attachment in your packet is the application for business assistance. This is used to provide a process to collect and review information, a step by the structure in which applicants will be evaluated equally and fairly as identifying the information required. Next is the business subsidy reimbursement agreement. And this is part of the application that outlines the fee structure for the applicant, the administration of those fees, and the expectation of those funds for both parties. Following those pages would be the summary report card. This is a standardized scoring process that outlines the public benefit and provides a grade in which staff would then further recommend applicants to the EDA and/or council. This is to assist to identify the level of public benefit for a particular project, particularly if we had two applying for the same parcel or the same type of subsidy, and we needed to evaluate one against the other as far as the benefits. The application and agreement would be completed by anyone who is requesting a business subsidy as defined by that state statute, which I outlined in the agenda report. And this creates a transparent process for underwriting and meeting the compliance requirements. The fifth document is the tax increment financing or TIF policy. In the event that this type of subsidy is requested from the city, it would set in place the guidelines that meet the required statutes, not only for it, but it falls back upon that business subsidy. These policies are related to each other as TIF assistance is defined by the state statute as a business subsidy, so they are directly related to each other. The TIF policy sets the objectives that, again, a public benefit be met by criteria such as wages, jobs, sustainment, removal of blight, and other qualifying factors that benefit the city as a whole. The policy outlines the eligible use of funds, the project qualifications, and the application process. Currently, there are no projects, land sales, or developments that are requesting or requiring these policies. Having these policies in place today will prepare us to move forward with the economic and community development initiatives. The 5 documents before you were presented to the St. Francis Economic Development Authority on May 16th and adopted as attached. I am here tonight requesting that City Council adopt the business subsidy policy and the tax increment financing policy as stated, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Council, do you have any questions? Hearing none, then I will entertain a motion to adopt the business subsidy policy and TIF policy.
I'll make that motion to approve the adoption.
Okay, Mr. Orban makes the motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McFlesh, I believe. Yep. Okay. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of adopting this business subsidy policy and our TIF policy, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to the next subject.
The second item before you is the planning assistance grant. I am requesting approval and authorization for the submission of the planning assistance grant to the Metropolitan Council for the city to receive $32,000 in grant funds. This opportunity was generated from Met Council as a technical assistance tool to aid the cities in the requirement to complete our comprehensive plans. Funds are being distributed to cities and county consortiums based on a set criteria. St. Francis is eligible as a steward city. The identifying factors included our capacity that less than or equal to the median net tax capacity per capita, and the forecasted growth from 2010 to 2040 is greater or equal to the median percentage growth, which was 24%. The funds are non-competitive grants eligible to selected communities to update their local comprehensive plans. The grantees are required to submit midpoint and final progress reports and maintain documentation related to the grant, so a fairly simple funding process. Funds will be released in 2 disbursements at the time of execution of our grant agreement and of completion and review of the comprehensive plan itself. The applications have been released. Work is in process in regards to applying for that funding. With approval tonight, I will move forward and create an RFP with a scope of work in order to review costs that would be associated with that comprehensive plan. And at this time, I'm requesting approval of 3 steps outlined in the agenda report, which have to do with the submission of the grant, acceptance of the grant by Met Council, and authorization for personnel for completion and signatures.
Okay. Mr. Weaver, I have a question. Can this be done in one motion or 3 separate? Is there 3 separate?
One motion should work.
Okay. All right, Council, I will entertain a motion to authorize the submission of the grant, acceptance of the grant as awarded by the Metro Council, and authorize staff to complete grant submission and necessary reviews.
Mr. Mayor, I recommend approval of all 3 requests.
Mr. Skordal made a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Brown seconds. Is there any discussion before I call for the question? Yes, Mr. Rowe.
I don't know if you're gonna know the answer to this or not, but how are we all of a sudden approved in some Metro Council thing when we couldn't get a dime for our water treatment facility? Now they're all of a sudden we're qualified for stuff. Do you know what the difference is? Why this project, not why something else?
Mayor and council, I don't have an answer versus one program over the other. The planning and assistance that's provided for the comprehensive plan seems to be its own department or division that's dealing with this, and it's not directly tied to some of those other issues that Metropolitan Council handles. And these funds are very directly related to just the completion of the comprehensive plan.
So because there's not infrastructure, potentially, that's why
I really can't speak on that. That was why Met Council was awarded one over the other.
Okay, any further questions? Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, moving on to our fire chief and our heart safe community. This is good stuff.
Mr. Mayor, Council, good evening. Tonight we have a guest from Coon Rapids Police and Heart Safe Community, Brian Platts. He's going to kind of go over and answer most of the questions that I cannot. We're going to be doing a presentation on the agenda report that you have enclosed in your packet for the Heart Safe program that we started. With that said, there's a little change to it. We're just seeking council support tonight, not declaring the city. Kind of jump the gun a little bit. We have to get our points in order to declare the city. But also with that said, we have gained and got a lot of the points already by teaching the high school, 100 of the kids the training that we need to do. I'd also like to give credit to firefighter Troy Lashinsky from East Bethel. He kind of started our program well before I got here to the city. As you know, a lot of their kids go to our high school, and he kind of got the ball rolling on that. And it's helping us along the way, so he was unable to come tonight. But a collaboration between all the cities. When we did that program at Coon Rapids, Anoka, East Bethel, and our own firefighters helping with that, so it worked out very well. Guess we'll start with a short video, and then Brian can come up and kind of give you an overview of the program.
RJ, I died playing hockey. When you are running after rest, your heart is not beating, you're dead. It takes one person, it takes one decision to save a life. Most teammates decided that he wasn't going to die that day. He decided that he wasn't going to wait for help. They were going to be there. You need to call 911. You need to send somebody to the ED and then you start CPR immediately. The only thing you're doing is put your heart and put your breath in the center of the chest. And once you turn that EEG on, it's going to start telling you what to do.
Evaluate each heart rhythm, preparing to stop. Press life-saving button.
In my line of work, I rarely see people step up with a thought like that. You need to call 911. You need to send somebody to get to the ED, and you need to start CPR immediately. You, the bystander, you're the most critical link to survival. This day, those teammates, they decided that no one was going to die.
I'm alive today because of my teammates. Thanks, guys.
So that was a true story that happened in Coon Rapids at the new ice arena. Were you there? Okay. So there's several firefighters around scene, so everything worked out to the best for him that night. So tonight we have Brian Platts from Coon Rapids Heart Safe. He'll kind of go over the whole program and what we need to continue doing with ours.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for having me. I just want to say, first off, this is by far the most efficient council I've ever seen. You guys are just rolling through stuff, lightning quick, I love it, so thank you guys for that. I am Ryan Watson with the Coon Rapids Police Department. I also founded Coon Rapids Heart Safe about 3.5 years ago. Also, I'm on the state advisory panel for Heart Safe Communities. I serve as the law enforcement representative to the state. So we're here today actually seeking council support, a proclamation of support from the city council to officially support this Heart Safe program that we've started here in St. Francis. This program does save lives. We just saw one example of how it affects people's lives just in Coon Rapids. And I'll tell you, just speaking from our program alone, in the last 3.5 years, we've trained 13,000 people in CPR and AED use. We haven't charged a penny to anyone. That's all free training. As a result of all of this training, there are 5 people alive today because of this training. So basically 5 people that our program is trained have went out and saved your life. We just had one in March. A Little League coach that I trained, that was March 23rd. On May 1st, he actually had to use that training and he saved a ball player's life. So 8 days later. So this is how this program affects the community. So the problem with cardiac arrest is it's the #1 killer in the United States. It kills 400,000 Americans a year. That's over 1,000 people a day. Currently in the United States, the survival rate is 5%. It's almost always fatal. Sadly, with immediate CPR and AED within the first 3 minutes, we see survival rates of 85%. So what we're missing isn't emergency services. We're great at our job, okay? What we're missing is that bystander intervention, that bystander support. 97% of the time we go to a witness cardiac arrest in emergency services, it's already a death scene by the time we get there. The patient dies while waiting for the help because the public, the bystander, the 911 caller is doing the wrong things prior to our arrival. And the wrong thing is not doing CPR. Typically it takes, without that early care, it takes about 3 minutes without oxygen to the brain for the brain to die. We have about 3 minutes to start working on that patient. Why is 3 minutes important? I pulled up you guys' stats here on your emergency responses in St. Francis 2015. On average, for a priority call, it takes the St. Francis Police 4 minutes and 48 seconds to get to a priority call. That's an outstanding response time. That's an excellent response time, but still 1 minute and 48 seconds too late. And that's why we see these people die. Frankly, I'm sick of watching people die. I'm sick of managing death scenes. I'm sick of dealing with grieving families. So the goal of this program is to get these people engaged and active to save these lives. By offering these free classes, by offering free AED training, and by getting the public to understand and know where the AEDs are in their community, how to use them, and that they can use them, and to overcome a lot of these fears of being sued, these fears of doing wrong, these fears of creating harm. So usually we do these presentations at the very beginning of the program. This is kind of a strange one because we've been kind of inching in on St. Francis for quite a while now, to the point where we trained 800 of your high school students just 2 months ago in this. So already we've got 10% of your population trained, which is a pretty significant accomplishment, and actually worth about 200 bonus points according to the score sheet. So basically what we need to do, since we're almost already there with you guys, we really are, we need to get a total of 450 points to get you guys designated. 120 of those points have to come from training. So basically any group of 10 or more people or any community event with 25 or more people. We need to identify or locate 12 AEDs in your community, and it has a minimum of 6 training events that we need to do. We've already got one done with your high school. We're going to do it next year with the remaining classes, and we're going to have 100% of your kids in high school trained. So basically, guys, we're not asking you for money. We're not asking for any type of budget or anything. We're asking you for your support. This program is 100% generated grassroots by volunteerism and community involvement. So we feel like we'll take the grassroots part, but it sure is nice to have the support of the city council so that everybody's on the same page. So that's about it. That's my pitch. Any questions of the program, how we can go about doing this, or?
Council? Yes, Mr. Rowe.
The maintenance and purchasing of the AEDs, does that fall to the local businesses who provide them, or is that on the city?
So the AED, that falls on the owner. What we do with Heart Safe Communities, you guys have already filled out your application. So we actually offer a Heart Safe discount on AEDs, which actually ends up being about $200 not a lot, but it's $200. It's a couple steak dinners anyway. So that responsibility falls on the owner. What we do as a program is try to ensure that they're properly maintained, that we go in and we check them out, because a lot of people get these AEDs and they take it out of the box and then what? They don't know. They don't know maybe that they have to plug the electrodes in, or they don't know how to check the battery or when their things expire. So that's the value of having us, is we can get out there and inspect their AED for them, let them know if they need anything new, or if it's even rescue ready, because a lot of these AEDs come, they're not rescue ready. And by rescue ready, I mean, turn it on, put the electrodes on, it's ready to go. Some of them, you have to pull a little plastic tab out of the battery, you know, the cheap little toys that you have to make the battery connections feed. You don't pull out that 1 penny or that little plastic tab, that's not a functional AED. So just to get them to do the right thing at first, and then to educate them and have them understand what they're for. So the city incurs no cost. My city, their total cost and their total investment in this program was like $250. That was for AED on-site details. It said Heart Safe Coon Rapids, so they were marketing it, and that's fine. I didn't have to pay for those. So we don't ask money, we don't ask for a budget, we just ask for support. Possibly training venues. This would be a good training venue for a free public training session. So things like that, the things that the city already has, is all of this is things that we want to tap into. Eventually, we'd like to get the city to put up your program on the city's website. So when you come to the city's website, you just click the HeartSafe link and have easy access to email that to get training. If you go to the Coon Rapids website, you see the HeartSafe link, contact us button, you can email me directly to set up your training. So really want to work with you guys for things that you already have set up. We're not asking you to do anything new. Fire chief, you guys do business inspections annually. We've just identified every business in the community where if they have an AED or not. So things that we're already doing is have one question to his sheet: do you have an AED? So it's little things like that that really tie everything together that make a good, effective program.
I think this is a great program to get behind, and it makes me think, I don't even know if this building has an AED. If it does, I don't know where it is.
And what usually we're like over right now.
We have a couple of first responders here usually, but not all the time. But if something happened, I wouldn't know where to go find it.
And that's the thing, it's just general awareness. Like for instance, did you guys know that every Cub Foods in Minnesota has an AED? Everyone does. It's right by the customer service desk at every Cub Food store. So if I asked that question 10 seconds ago, if I asked you guys, what would you do at Cub Foods if somebody went to cardiac arrest, what would your answer have been? So just simply knowing what you know now, every Cub Foods that you guys are in, you now have a plan to rescue somebody. So just a simple awareness of stickers and kind of like you said, awareness saves lives. And to get people over the growth factor. We teach compression only CPR, no breaths whatsoever, because that's actually bad, dude, believe it or not, scientifically proven. But just to tell people, get engaged, push on their chest, push hard, push fast, as fast as you can. That's it. That's all people need to know. But it gets them over that psychological, I don't know what to do. Or I can't remember that 4-hour training course that I took 2 years ago with all the PowerPoints and the, ABC 1, 2, 3, tugging their ear 4 times before you even start anything. So we cut right to the chase. If they're not breathing normal and they're not responsive, start CPR. And CPR is hard and fast on their chest. That's it. You guys have a heart safe program in your city, don't you?
Yes, we do.
I'm going to be thinking some names to call you at an appropriate time.
Anyone else? Mr. Brown?
I'd like to thank you for your time for the program. And I think it's just an education thing too, like, is there AED in this building? And like Rich just said, sometimes it's first responders here and sometimes it's not, but there is one here all the time. You don't know how to identify who is and who isn't.
Every one of you are. The great thing, here's this program, what really bothers me is if an incident happens and somebody says, is there a doctor in the house? What if that doctor's a podiatrist? What doctor? How many cardiac arrests do you think they worked in their career? So we're so over-reliant on emergency services or somebody else being more qualified. And at the end of the day, if I was standing right next to a world-renowned cardiologist and somebody went down in this room, all things being equal, I'm just as effective as him at assessing that person, because we've all got hands. And if there were an AED in this building, we all can use that AED. So everybody is capable of doing this. And it's just a matter of getting them to understand that, and to have that much confidence, to walk, to push through their fear and just have you know, the smallest amount of confidence in their abilities to act, that's where we see Park State. That's where videos like this are made and will continue to be made. That's where these stories come from, is people that recognize this stuff and act. He's only alive today because of his teammates. No cop, no firefighter, no paramedic was on duty to lay a hand on him. There's a bunch of hockey players with hockey sticks. You think they were ready for a cardiac arrest on the ice? They weren't, but when it happened, they knew what to do. So, we also donated AED to you guys' ice rink too, I forgot about that. The Minnesota NHL alumni came down. We had a little event, yeah, Brad Maxwell came down, we donated an AED right to your arena. So the next time you go in your arena, walk into the main doors, look to your right, see it on the wall. So that's courtesy of the former Minnesota North Stars.
Thank you. Well, I can't say enough about this program. In fact, right after the chief started, it's one of the first things that we talked about. My first year on council, we found out the police department, through a process of learning, are usually first responders. And they didn't have AEDs. So the council got together, we went out to the community, we went out to the nonprofits, and now every squad car has an AED. And I've been told, I don't know how many have them, but I've been told it saved at least one life.
I'll promise you your survival rates just by putting your AEDs in your car. I promise you, if you looked at your survival rates prior to AEDs versus now, I bet you jumped up 6% in survival rates, minimum. I know that we saw a spike immediately. We've only had AEDs in our squad car since 2012. We got one the second day. We got our first day the second day that AED was in there. So we're hovering around 24% survival rate in Coon Rapids. The county's averaging about 16%. So just the county in general is doing 10% better than the national average. But because we made such an investment in this stuff, we're doing a little bit better than the rest of the county. If you count Olmstein data, which is fancy scientific data or whatever, based on witness hospital cardiac arrest, our survival rate is actually about 35 to 40% in Coon Rapids. So, I mean, this stuff works. So all the states I've ever been a part of in my career, they've all had one contributing factor: bystander CPR and RAED. So it works, it matters. You get 3 minutes without care, it's over. That's a death scene. We're not responding to a medical emergency when we're managing the death scene with grieving family. Because it takes, on average, 4 minutes and 48 seconds, that's a minute 48 seconds too long. That life is lost. But with that bystander doing that CPR, they're bridging that gap and buying that time. They're keeping this healthy so we can get this working again.
Okay, council, any further comments?
I guess I just want to say, I think we should, I'm totally for this program, I think we should do a city internet Facebook campaign of businesses and where they have their AEDs, because like I'm kind of ashamed that I don't know where it is in this building.
We started doing that, Councilmember Ortman, and Mr. Mayor, in our inspection program, we have added that check mark, and as a return point away, I know there's a lot more items out there.
Well, if we could just broadcast it to the masses online so that everyone knows, so we can share it, and so if somebody happens to go to that business, they're gonna, hopefully they'll remember seeing us.
You know, we've done maps before for that.
Yeah, also, is there a mapping department for St. Do we have a map of St. Francis? Is there a department that has like in Coon Rapids, we have a map of the city, a little black dot representing every business in town. I just went and asked her, could you put a little red heart over the little black dot, every place I identify them. So, and that's active on the website. I don't know if you guys do or not, but if you don't, Google Maps, you can create a simple map. Well, I know you guys have a website for the city of St. Francis. And we can just make that link heart safe. We can put a map in there so the public can come and look and see. Like I said, you'll go to the Coon Rapids website and see kind of how we promote the program through there. But we want to make it as easy as possible for people to understand this program and to get in touch with us. And that's right through the city's website.
Mr. Leacock, would you be looking for a motion for proclamation, or?
We like a proclamation support, if for any other reason that shows that the head leadership of that community is engaged and on board with the program. That way, you know, when Chief Coho, Chief Brandon, congratulations, by the way, go to businesses and talk about this program, they can say, well, this is something that our city council supports. And let's face it, at the end of the day, businesses in any town don't want a council member or a city council upset with them. So they tend to, the proclamation support really is just to show that you inform me that everyone's on the same page with this.
Okay, I will entertain the motion for proclamation.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Brown makes the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McFresh. I would like to see something taken down to this motion. And that is, we started a little section in the quarterly newsletter on our Heart Safe community, and we can tell the public the progress that we're making, if we're going to be having any training sessions and everything. I think there should be a little section set aside for that. Mr. Brown, would you amend your motion?
Yes.
Mr. McFlesh? Yes. Is there any further discussion? Sensing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. We're here anytime you guys need us to, so.
Great. All right, now for the Public Works Department.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. In your packet tonight is an agenda report from me regarding the purchase of a new pickup to replace our 14-year-old truck. This is the oldest truck in our fleet. Council's always been very good about making sure that we do replace equipment in a timely manner. Typically, 10 years is what we've been trying to do. Unfortunately, we did have a few trucks that gave us some struggles over the years, so this continued to be a good truck for us, and we pushed this one back in the schedule so we could bump some of the other ones up and move them through before we see more problems with them. So with that, I'll answer any questions that you may have. This is in the budget in our capital equipment plan. We did have $40,000 budgeted to do this. Our current bid price on the state bid for this truck equipped is $33,142.
Council?
So one question. So I assume is this on a state bid?
Yes.
Is that where we're going to Burnsville for this truck?
Yeah, all of our, Mayor, Council, all of our purchases like this with capital equipment do go through the state bid process. So.
Mr. Brown?
No, this truck is, because it's for municipal use, is it eligible for extended warranty?
Mayor, Council, that is a good question. I'm not aware of an extended warranty for municipal use, but we can check into that.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Mr. McFlesh makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Mayor, I'll second.
Mr. Scordall seconds. Is there any further discussion before I call for the question? Yes.
Just like to point out on the state bid here, that's a very decent price. I mean, that's pretty good price for a truck like that, so.
Well, and that also includes extra equipment.
Yes.
My understanding. So yeah, that is very good price. Any further discussion? Mr. Brown?
Just out of curiosity, that old Ford that we're getting rid of, how many miles are on that approximately? I know it's wore out and it's junk, but I'm just curious how many miles in it all the time.
This truck that we're replacing is a Chevy 1500, and it has 96,000 miles on
Okay. Any further? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of replacing this truck signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Our Chief of Police, you're in the hot seat.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You saw in your packet, the reason I'm speaking with you this evening is I'm here looking to create a new officer eligibility list. As you know, since the consent agenda, we have recently replaced our open position off of our former eligibility list, which is creeping on the roll. Things happen, and as you know, in law enforcement, and if you're not aware of it, you won't have to explain to you, the hiring process does take a long time. To be prepared for that, having an eligibility list readily available keeps us ahead of the curve, and that's what we're looking to do. So today I'm looking for a recommendation and a motion to go ahead and start that process. As far as the budget impact, this is going to be conducted by our staff. There really isn't going to be an impact to our budget to go ahead and have an eligibility list ready to go. Or I'm going to answer any questions that you may have.
Council? Okay, hearing no questions, and I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion to approve the officer eligibility list.
Mr. McFisher makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Brown seconds. Is there any further discussion before I call for the question? Mr. Brown?
I do think this would be a good thing to look at every year and review it or renew it every year, keep it fresh.
I agree.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Mayor, Council, since I have your attention and the consent agenda has already been approved, I do have our new officer, Christopher Bolerick, here. He would come over here quick. I'd like to introduce him to you briefly, and if you have any questions for him, he will be starting with us tomorrow morning. This is our newest officer, Christopher Bolerick.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to start.
Any questions, Council?
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, welcome and good luck.
Be safe.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to our city administrator.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, the city recently adopted change to cancel meeting by resolution. And during discussion at that time, it was discussed that this would likely apply to the first meeting in July and the second meeting in December. And so with that, I just wanted to bring forward a discussion point of if we want to have the July 5th council meeting, which would be on Tuesday, or if the city council would be looking to cancel that particular meeting. After discussing with staff, we're not aware of any city business that would be disrupted by this, otherwise we want to probably brought it forward for consideration. So with that, I'll leave it up for council discussion to determine if we will hold July 5th.
Council? Yes.
I personally don't think we should cancel a meeting just because it happens to fall after a long holiday weekend. So unless there's absolutely zero city business to take care of, which I can't imagine there would be, I think we should move forward with the meeting as scheduled.
I would agree with that. Myself, I'm cutting my vacation so I can make it that meeting, so I plan on being here whether there's a meeting or not.
Mr. McFisher?
Yeah, I can close that.
Mr. Squirrel?
As far as I know, I will be around, so it's fine with me.
I think you have direction. All right, moving on, reports from council members. Mr. Orban?
I have nothing to report today.
Mr. Squirrel?
Okay, I have just 4 things I was going to rattle off before I leave for the airport. I don't know if I can do it in 2 minutes. First thing, last year we had, I would say, kind of not an organized front when it came to National Night Out or whatever the 19 night is, and that's not that far away. So I don't know if we would like to give Mr. Coleman the action item to come up with some ideas or what we could do to, I'm not saying take it over, but the police department, the fire department, and they do a phenomenal job doing what they do, but there wasn't any presence from us. I don't think our police chief was there, so I don't know if we need to just maybe put our heads together, have Joe think about what we could do. So anyway, that's like a month and a half away, so I wouldn't mind having Joe think about what we could do to, if it's whatever. That's not that far away.
I can bring a report back.
Then I had these couple residents in our neighborhood, probably myself included. We noticed the coyotes are getting pretty close to our neighborhood on the north side, east side, south side. So I sent Mr. Coleman a question. Does the city have any programs that take care of those. I did a little research, coyotes are not protected by the state of Minnesota, you can trap, you can shoot anytime. But our city, if you're in the sewer and water district, you can't discharge firearms. If you're outside of that, you can, but you have to be at least 500 feet away from somebody else's residence. So that kind of, takes that off the table. If coyotes do become a problem, is there anything with our, our contractor, where they would come and try to trap coyotes, or is it strictly would it strictly be a landowner problem? I wouldn't say they're causing problems, but they are starting to get pretty close to those of us that live out in rural areas, and it won't be too much longer, and they'll be encroaching into the fringes of the sewer and water district. So I don't know if that's something to think about, but right now I think it's just a landowner's responsibility to deal with them, as far as I know.
Cities have to look into that, as other cities have done, with hired contractors for gear management and things like that, so it's being possible.
Okay, then my last thing was I asked a question about, I'm pretty disappointed in the condition of County Road 72, the southbound lanes, there by the high school. They're in worse condition than they were before the utility work was done. There's two nice potholes that if I was on a motorcycle at night, I'd probably be laying in that ditch right now. So I believe staff has put in a request, I'll say, on their pothole reporting system. But what are the plans for that stretch of 72? It is horrible. The northbound lanes, they've repaired, but the southbound lanes are a lot worse than they were before.
Mayor, council, my last conversation with Harry Grams about 2 weeks ago in regard to that led me to believe that they would be trying to facilitate milling and overlaying that entire stretch, starting at the end of the construction of the roundabouts on Roman River Boulevard, going north to 243rd, east to Nightingale, and south back down to 229. If they could not get it in their schedule this year, they were going to try and do it next year.
Okay, but at least the potholes are on their to-do list, for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. And the only other question was, for, I guess, finance, what kind of response are we getting with the wastewater, or not, excuse me, the stormwater postcards? There are people are like me and they have not brought in their money for the stormwater fee, or are you still accepting walk-ins, or what should people like me do?
Mayor and council, yes, we are still taking payments. We're going to send out another reminder notice here in June to the people who haven't paid. The next step would be in September, we would start the special assessment process for anybody who hasn't paid at that time.
Okay. All right, that's all I have. Thanks.
Mr. McClish.
Nothing to report.
Mr. Brown.
Just a reminder, I won't be at the next council meeting. West doing research on other city councils, so I'll be submitting a bill for 5 or 6 gallons of diesel fuel. That's about it.
There's a little round file.
Oh.
All that stuff goes into. All right, report from the mayor. We had a very pleasant time Thursday night up at People Ratings with WCCO Radio. It was a great time. I was able to get on several times. They had me come up and come on, and I could ballyhoo the city a little bit. And I think we're going to get some very, very positive press out of it. And of course, during Pioneer Days, the coronation ceremony was as usual, a great thing for those gals. They are unbelievable, our St. Francis ambassadors. They are just an unbelievable group of young ladies. I just don't have enough. I don't have enough praise for them because they are just great. And I got several of us got certificates from King Warriors in the Winter Carnival. For our help and our work with them. The Aquatennial royalty was there. There was a lot of royalty from the cities around here. The Winter Carnival group was there. And we had 2 Klondike Kates to sing the national anthem to open it up. So it was really, really a fun time. I would urge you, if you, next year, to attend that and just watch how things happen. It's amazing to me, so. Anyway, that's all I have. Is there any old business? Is there any old business? All right, then, how about new business? Yes.
I had, basically, after the last Economic Development Authority meeting, I kind of had the impression that the rec center was kind of dead in the water. And in the past, we were kind of led to believe that the county had some political capital that because they have been ignoring us for so long with county funds. And I'd like to see if the county or the council would prefer to address a need that the community has currently that I think would be a lot easier sell to the community and would be used greatly, and that's to partner with the county to expand the public library. It was built in 1980 when we had 1,100 people in town, and we are beyond capacity for that place, with us and the surrounding communities. And I think the parking lot needs to be redone, especially with the improved traffic flow that the roundabouts are supposed to create. It's going to be impossible to get in and out of that library if you're going to take a left, just with the roundabouts. There's never going to be a break from the traffic light. So I think if the council's on board, I think we should investigate expanding the library, and it's probably about 15 years overdue. They just closed their storage time to make room for more computers, and talked to one of the librarians there, and she said that they are probably one of the highest per capita used libraries in the county, and we have the most limited hours and the most limited computers. She said they're used nonstop, and there's cars in the parking lot using the Wi-Fi 24/7, and I think we just need to embrace that and see if we can work with the county to make it bigger and improve for the whole community.
I think that's a good idea. However, the rec center is not dead. The rec center is in limbo. The YMCA is doing a survey, setting up with a survey company to survey the whole area, see what the needs really are. So that's where we're at right now. We're on hold until the YMCA gets that report done. Secondly, I do know from a meeting with the county, with all the commissioners earlier this year, there were some comments made. They're not going to get anything from us until we get our libraries in the east. So it may be an uphill battle, but it's probably a good place to start right now. I'm just trying to give you some of that history that I've heard.
Mr. Mayor, can I say one thing here?
Yes.
Just to let you know for your knowledge, Andover's expanding their YMCA and their hockey rink there.
Right.
So timing wise, I mean, with one upriver and then one over there.
And that's why I said I think it's a good idea to start that process. I don't know how long that might take.
I would just prefer not to just wait on somebody else and just take the initiative to go forward with it. Because I know Cambridge is having the YMCA go to stay there too. And to be honest, why have a choice between here and Cambridge? They're going to take Cambridge. There's just more traffic and there's more businesses. And
I would agree.
There's no more, our community needs a library more now than ever. So I just think we should.
I think we do need to start that process. And I can call Commissioner Look tomorrow.
That would be great.
Talk to him to see what we have to do. All right. Anything else?
Okay.
Anything else? Going once, going twice. We're adjourned. Thank you.